So let's talk about socket programming in Java. In this video, we are going to talk about sockets, how to achieve socket, servers and clients, client-server communication demo, transferring Java objects. So what is socket? A socket is one endpoint of a two-way communication link between two programs running on the network. A socket is bound to a port number so that the TCP layer can identify the application that data is destined to be sent to. So how does it work? One socket, or the one node, listens on a particular port at an IP while the other socket reaches out to the other to form a connection. Server forms the listener socket while client reaches out to the server. Common port numbers and the related protocol. The Internet Assigned Numbers Authority, or the IANA, is responsible for the global coordination of the DNS route, IP addressing, and the other Internet Protocol resources. These include the registration of commonly used port numbers for well-known Internet services. A port number uses 16 bits and so can therefore have a value from 0 to 65535 decimal. Port numbers ranging from 0 to 1023 are the well-known ports. These are allocated to services by the Internet Assigned Numbers Authority. Ports number ranging from 1024 to 49151. These are the registered port. These can be registered for services with the IANA and should be treated as semi-reserved, while the ports ranging number from 49152 to 65535 are used by the client programs. Anybody can use these in client programs. When a web browser connects to a web server, the browser will allocate itself a port in this range.
How to achieve socket programming in Java. First, we have to import the socket module or framework. This module consists of built-in methods that are required for creating sockets and help them associate with each other. Here are some important methods of the socket modules. Socket method creates an unconnected socket with a system default type of socket. Socket method with the parameters of string host and int port. Create a stream socket and connects it to specify port numbers on the name host. Bind method with the parameters of socket address bind point. Binds the socket to a local address. Close method closes this socket. Connect method with the parameters of socket address endpoint. Connects this socket to the server. And get input stream method returns an input stream for this socket. Servers and clients. Definition: server. It is a piece of computer hardware or software that provides functionality for the programs or devices. Client. The term client refers to any entity that requests a service from another entity. Normally, a server runs on a specific computer and has a socket that is bound to a specific port number. The server just waits, listening to the socket for a client to make a connection request. On the client side, the client knows the host name of the machine on which the server is running and the port number on which the server is listening. To make a connection request, the client tries to rendezvous with the server on the server's machine and port. The client also needs to identify itself to the server, so it binds to a local port number that it will be used during this connection. If everything goes well, the server accepts the connection. Upon acceptance, the server gets a new socket bound to the same local port and also has its remote endpoint set to the address and port of the clients. It needs a new socket so that it can continue to listen to original socket for connection requests while tending to the needs of the connected client. On the client side, if the connection is accepted, a socket is successfully created, and the client can use the socket to communicate with the server. The client and server can now communicate by writing to or reading from their sockets.
Good day everyone. So since the socket programming in Java, what are sockets and how to achieve socket programming in Java, then the server and client communication in Java is already discussed by my fellow group members. So let's now demonstrate how the Echo server works. Okay, so now I will be discussing to you the two classes, or the server.java and the client.java. So first we imported the java.net and java.io. So so it is essential if you are making or creating a program that deals with networking. Then the java.io is simply for input and output. So because in this program we will be using input and output streams to read the messages on to output the messages. So once we start, we are running the program, there's a message that indicates that the server is now starting. So now we have our try catch block here. Now we instantiate a server socket, so we name it as SS in short for server socket, then our port number. So we will be using the port number 3702. So how to identify what port number that we will be using? So we will go to the command prompt, then let's type this command, netstat .a -a. Then you can see all the ports in our system. So as you can see here, the port number 3702 is vacant. So we will be using this port number. So back to the program. So since we instantiate our server socket with port number 3702, then now we will accept we will connect the client and server with this code block here. So socket.cs equals to server socket.accept. So this means that we are now connected. So there's a message that will indicate that the connection is already established between the server and the client side. So here we have buffered reader and print writer. So we will using buffered reader in order for us to read the input from the client. So buffered reader was the new buffered reader, then new input stream. Then we will pass it to the input stream coming from, or the input coming from the client side. So cs.get input stream. So we'll be using print writer in order to receive or to write back the message to the client. So we'll be getting the output stream coming from the client, then we will flash the message after we are done using the message that the buffered reader has received. So while loop, so we are using while loop here. If in order for us to infinitely loop, if we receive anything coming from our client or any message coming from our client, then system.out print line from client. So we will print the message coming from the client that is stored in our string variable line. Then print writer that print line. So the print writer will write back to the client. Okay. So now let's move forward to the client side of the program. So here, as you can see, we also imported java.net, java.io, and java.utility-scanner. There is a message that indicates that our client is already starting. So the processes here is similar to the server side. So you can see we have also a try catch block here. And then okay, so we instantiate the socket for our client, so we name it as CS, or for short for client socket. So we are using the same port, same as from our server, which is the port number 3702, print writer and buffer reader. So once the server accepts the client, so there's a message that it will indicate that the the client is now connected to the server. So we have scanner. So why scanner? Because we'll be using this scanner in order for us to read the client input. Okay, so here as you can see, we will be using also a while loop in order for us to infinitely loop. So we have a message here that is asking for a input from our client. Then we will store that input coming from the client in this string variable input. Okay, our client will input exit, then it will break the infinite loop. Okay, so here we can see we have a string variable which is the response. So it will receive the input or the text coming from the server side, then we will output the response of the server that is stored in our variable response. So now let's demonstrate the echo server program. So first we will be running the server program. So once we program, we can see a message that the server program is now starting. Then if we run the client program, we can see a message here that from the server that the connection is established because the server is already accepted or connected to the client. The console from our client side, we can see the message that the client is now starting, and we are now connected to the server because the server is already accepted or connected to the client. So we will input our message here. So let's input this. So our message here is hello. So as you can see here, the client replied also hello because it echoes back the message coming from the client. In our client side, we can also see that we have a message coming from the client that says hello. Okay, so let's put another message again, hi. So you can see we inputted our message here, then the server replied hi. Then if we look back to our server, you can see the message coming from client that says hi. Okay, so that's it. Thank you so much for watching.